It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielsen, Cass, and Gager with you once again, all part of the Nielsen Media CoolBet Network. If you've not yet signed up for an account at CoolBet, use the code 2GUYS, the number 2 and the word guys. They've got dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of NHL futures bets already open for you over there, so you can go visit that as well. Cass, Gager, man, what a weekend. We got lots to get to. We got Oilers, Canucks. We're going to dive into that a little bit. Pacific Division preview as well. Let's start with the Elks game, because I was working it. My family was there. Cass, you were there. Gage, you guys, Cass, let's start with you. What was your experience like? How'd it go?
Well, the girls loved it. They loved it. I didn't know.
My kids love being there too, buddy. Like, they love it.
They loved it. They loved it. And so my dad's on the sidelines still every game at home. And so he had little footballs and some antler horns for them. So they got to see him like before the game started down by the field and take a picture with Opie. And so they were pumped about that. And they, wore the antlers the whole game and had their popcorn and their mini donuts. And I brought some juice boxes into the stadium because they don't have any juice, I knew, like at any of the things. And they loved it. Their favorite parts were seeing Opie and the cheerleaders. Like, they don't really understand what's going on with football, but they like cheering when everybody cheered. So it was lots of fun. They get like what a touchdown is, but beyond that, they don't, they're not
stressing about first downs and things like
stressing.
that.
Like I am. So but it was a blast. It was a ton of fun. They loved it. Oh yeah, other favorite thing was Elsa and Anna were there.
Oh, Elizabeth found Elsa and Anna too. It was a big deal.
Huge deal. Yep.
Yeah.
So I had that, but it was really good. We made it. We if I just had the oldest, we probably would have made it through the whole game.
Yeah.
So we left.
Because how old is she? What is she? 6 or 7?
She's 7.
Yeah. Same as Marshall. Marshall could do the whole game now. Yeah,
she would do it. The 5-year-old, she started getting a little antsy, like at the start of the fourth quarter, and so kind of middle of the fourth, that's when we snuck out of there. But it was.
Oh, you didn't miss the fireworks at the end, man. When you left, was it 18-17 still? It must have been.
No, they'd
thrown the pick six.
I just left right after the pick six. Yeah.
All right. Well, you didn't miss much then. That's okay. And Gager, you were there for your kids, essentially, right?
Yeah, essentially. I was putting beef in buns and steaming wieners, Dusty. That's what I was doing. So I was behind the scenes, adding the culinary magic of Commonwealth was due to my brilliance. So hope you enjoyed your dogs, boys.
Yeah, well, the dogs there are very good. I'll give you credit for that. Now, is that a huge pot that you're boiling them in, or how are you cooking these dogs? That's what I want to know.
No, it's a steamer. It's there's these big ovens in the back, and so you just you get either the colossals or the standard dog. We get them into the tray. You got to break them up though because they're frozen. Then I throw them in there 15 minutes. Got to get the right buns. The colossal buns are those good like brioche buns, right, or whatever they are. And so then I'm back there wrapping those up. Got to make sure the foil's on the outside, so you know the difference, and then throw them in the thing. Keep everything stacked up, ready to go. I was my wife was on the till too. She was.
Family affair.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
so we did our job. We did our job for our child.
All right, now the other thing we have to get to, we were just talking about before. And you sent it out, and I've watched it from a couple of different angles now. This is this fishing scandal where these guys were stuffing lead weights into fish, had won over $400,000, and then they finally, people are like, wow. I watched the video today, like, those fish don't look like they weigh that much. And then it led to all hell breaking loose. Gager, you found this for us, so take us through this thing. This is amazing.
Well, just with such a big weekend in sports, and that just eclipsed everything. Like to see the amount of views on that. And I was making myself something for lunch, and I saw CNN's even got it on there with these guys, and just the reaction of everything, and the swearing and the like you said, one of the things that you heard, but the one that just stuck with me is we got weights and fish, and everyone just goes absolutely ballistic. And the funniest part of it all was the guy that cheated just stood there in front of the bucket and just like it's of shame of him cheating, and it was I must have watched it at least 30 times last night because I'd never seen anything like this. The only thing, well, I'll get to it later, but it was I might have to watch some fishing shows later like this. Like I'm sure it'll be way more dramatic now.
Well, there's going to be a documentary on Netflix about this. I mean, 100%. Untold, the story of this, that's 100% going to happen. Cass, it had to have been happening in other places too. Like it seems seems like such an easy thing to pull off.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's happening all over the place. And I know because I have down in Minnesota, my wife's family, they're super into fishing. So they'll do like fishing competitions as a family. Like they love it. They do a ton of it. And there's always people that are on the watch, like where guys will go out on the lake the day before and like they'll be catching fish the day before these competitions. And like even if they're not weighting them, like they'll trap them. Like they'll put them in a cage and then lower the cage to the bottom and basically catch the cage and pull it back up, like that sort of thing. So it's frequent. And I feel like, cheating with fish like that is a lot easier to get away with than, steroid use now or some of the other ways you try to get in games. But what's crazy to me is just the amount of money actually involved. Like,
yeah,
I mean, you have similar things. I feel like where there's lots of cheating allegations and that sort of stuff happens is like esports, right? Where you have like online tournaments, like there's, in that world, there's allegations all the time of cheating, but in the athletic sports, if you can call fishing an athletic sport, I mean, this is nuts. And the thing is I think the guys too, like they've won a whole bunch of competitions. Yeah. So it's like they've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars that's now all of a sudden going to be suspect. Like, it's like, well, how do you go back? And I mean, the fish are gone. You can't check against them doing it or anything. It's like all their victories are going to have the little asterisk by it now. There goes their Hall of Fame bid in the Fishing Hall of Fame.
They'll never get in. That's great. Hey, I before we get to that story you got, Gager, I want you both to reconnect. Your audio is just a little bit behind. I think my computer froze quickly. So just log out, reconnect, and everything should be fine when you reconnect. So the boys will be right back in just 1 second. I will just kind of tell you what we got coming up here. Gager's got a classic story that kind of ties into this fishing thing. So we'll get to that. Oilers, Canucks tonight. We're going to dive into that a little bit. Holloway with the top six. Chychrun in the Oilers, some rumors there, and then we'll get to a Pacific Division preview as well. Gager, I'm just going to bring Cass back in here. I can't. The fact that you got a story that ties in some way to what we were just talking about with the fishing is, I mean, to me, it's absolutely hilarious. So, as I said, Cass, back up here, buddy. Kind of tell us what was going on there.
So, yeah, well, as soon as this happened, I was trying to, it just came to me about, and I'm not sure what happened. Cass, you're a little bit younger, so it was a little different. And I'm just speaking back to my days in the factory in Portland with the Winterhawks. Central Scouting would bring a guy in to do the measurements, like to see where everyone was at and first the scouting reports and stuff. And usually this guy looked like some deadbeat off the street. I remember the one guy, he reeked of cigarettes and he just didn't want to be there at all. But it was my first kind of time doing this. But a lot of the older guys that were maybe on the smaller side and they would start, like, I know my buddy Nick Vachon actually put pucks in the bottoms of his sneakers to give him another inch. And he had like 8 pucks in his sweatpants to give him more weight. So, I didn't know what these guys were doing. They were all going into the training room, like 4 or 5, I can't remember everyone's name that did it, but all these guys brought in big, huge sweatpants, and the small guys would put pucks in their shoes to just pad their Central Scouting stats. Colin Foley, yeah, he did it too because he was a skinny guy. He added another inch and about 8 pounds of vulcanized rubber in his big sweats. Oh yeah, so I'm sure it's a little bit different how they take their measurements now, but that's how it. Colin never got drafted. He probably should have put a few more pucks in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say might have needed some more pucks. Man, you guys, the Winterhawks are huge this year. Yeah. That doesn't look how they are on the ice. What's going on? Oh my God. There's pucks in these sweats. That would have been absolutely amazing.
it was great with Vash because he was 5'10" for sure, but in his central scouting stats, he was like 5'11 and a half one year, I think. So it was pretty good.
Cass, did you? I mean, you probably wouldn't have had to cheat size-wise, but any similar
No,
stories?
I was cheating the other way. It's like
Yeah.
where like and I knew guys who did it the other way, where it's like they're trying to lose weight on the scale. So they're like, trying to flush their system with water. Guys are taking laxatives like the night before, like to try to just get everything out of their system. Like, no, it was guys doing the other thing where they were trying to like not eating for like a day, basically going to like to try to do like a boxing weigh-in, like where you starve yourself and sweat everything out for a day. So you're just like woozy standing up on the scale. And, the second you're off, you're finally going to like eat for the first time. Like that was my stuff, where it was like, no, you had to worry about your weight being too high, not about your weight being too low.
All right, man, that's good. I like that story. All right, let's get into it. Oilers and Canucks, Dylan Holloway getting a look in the top six. They're moving Hyman over to the right side, and Holloway's going to play with Draisaitl and Hyman to the right in Puljujarvi's spot, and then Holloway gets a crack at it in the top six. Cass, let's start with you, man. From what you've seen of him so far, how do you think he would fit in with Draisaitl and Hyman?
Well, he's been really good so far, hasn't he? Like, and he's driven some offense and shown some creativity out there. So I think you're going to give him a look here. We all know the potential of this player, and when we all know what we were hoping that Holloway was going to be, and maybe a little glimpse here of a Puljujarvi-less Oilers to see, well, what happens if we do actually trade him? What does our top six look like? Is Holloway ready to step into that position? I mean, you have to start to find those things out. And so he's going to get a little bit of a look, but he really has been, because it hasn't been like we haven't seen all the regulars regularly thus far.
Yeah.
And Holloway's been their best player. He's been their best forward, most consistent thus far. Also had the most opportunity, I would say, and gets a little bit more again here. So I'm excited to see it. Should be good.
Gager, how much I don't know, how much you read into it, I guess, so far? And the thing that's frustrated with me the most about the preseason so far is that, and you're going to see it tonight, the Canucks aren't bringing any of their big guys. So you're going to have McDavid and Draisaitl out there again against a bunch of guys who aren't even kind of in the same league with them. And it's been the other way as well, right? So, I'd like to see NHL roster versus NHL roster. I guess we'll get that over the last 3 or 4 games. But how much are you going to read into what Holloway can do tonight with Draisaitl and Hyman?
Yeah, that's a good question. The thing I look at it from his standpoint, and what I would like to see him do is just keep making the decision tough for the Oilers coaching staff and to take him out of the lineup. Like, keep putting the pressure on them to have him come the start of the season, have to have him in the lineup because he's playing so well. I think at this point, it's great what he's done, and he's definitely prepared himself to have a really good camp, which is great. But like you said, Dusty, he's still not playing against the top guys. And what we usually see with a young player like him is, yeah, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of exuberance now, but you get into the regular season. You get it past, maybe he has a good game here, but then that starts to tail off and you see just the wear and tear and how good the NHL is. I just hope they don't put him in a situation that becomes too difficult for him and you just kind of loses some confidence that way. But I mean, if he can keep going, that's great. But I just, to me personally, I just don't see him maybe getting the start of the season, but I would probably see him in Bakersfield by the end of mid-November, probably, I would say.
Yeah, Cass, where do you come out on that approach where, you look good in camp, you get a start, all of a sudden it's a regular season and maybe not ready just yet. He might be. I mean, we're not saying he's not, but how do you balance the start him here and move him up as opposed to maybe start him here and have to dial him back a little bit?
I mean, I like the starting lower. I like the starting lower, moving up generally.
Yeah.
Because I think doing it the other way around, you risk stripping the player of confidence by putting them in a situation they're not ready for. So I would rather have them earn up versus earn down. Now you're trying to balance that with if you start them too low too early and you don't give them the opportunity, you could also strip confidence. So it's, there's dangers doing it both ways, I think. To me, with Holloway already, with his time that he's had in the minors and, getting just a tiny little touch in the playoffs last year, I think you are seeing, and even, we could even say just, now with the Detroit style being implemented in Edmonton in terms of player development, that he's, Ken Holland is taking the build him slowly approach with Holloway. But you're allowed to test things out in preseason. And if he is ready, then he's ready. And you don't need to hold him back.
We're going to get to a Pacific Division preview in just a second. I do want your guys' thoughts, and talked about this on my show. I think we talked about it on the Oil Stream on Friday as well. The Oilers, depending on who you talk to, one of the teams that have been connected to Chychrun. And from one report, Broberg untouchable in Chychrun contract talks. So, or in Chychrun trade talks. So, are you guys okay with that? Like, are we fine with Broberg being an unmovable piece to bring in a defenseman like Jacob Chychrun? Are you? I know. I'm torn on it, because I do think they're in a total win now mode, and I think Chychrun right now would be a better defenseman. Part of me thinks, how much of an upgrade on Kulak is it? Because that's what it really is, because Broberg's third pair guy anyway, so kind of bump everybody down. The deal would have to be a first-round pick, probably Broberg, and contract going back the other way to even make this get remotely close to working. But Cass, where are you at on sacrificing some of the future to really take a legit run at it, if you view Chychrun that way?
Well, first of all, I texted you guys about this weeks ago, before there were any reports of everything. I was just thinking about it, and
yeah, you did. You're right.
Pugliarvi looking like he was going to trade, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder what it would take to get him out of here, because I think he would be a great fit. I don't know why if you think Broberg is going to be a number one guy, I guess maybe you could view him as an untouchable. But with what I've seen from Broberg, am I ready to make him an untouchable? I don't know. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because you get cost certainty with an NHL player in your win window for the Edmonton Oilers with Chychrun. Like, he's a legitimate top 4, top 2 pairing defenseman, takes a ton of pressure, I think, off Darnell Nurse, can play in both ends of the ice, and he's cost certain for the next number of years. You know what you're getting. Broberg, I get it. You're trying to, protect your future, but at the same time, there's some uncertainty there, because what if he doesn't pan out the way you think he's going to pan out? What if it doesn't progress the way you think it's going to progress? And I get that if it does, and it does quickly, well, now you have a player that's on an even cheaper contract because he's on an entry-level deal or whatever. But I don't know. I wouldn't have him as an untradeable. I'd be looking at Chychrun 100%.
Gager, what about you, buddy?
I can't do it. There's no way I'm trading Broberg.
You like him, eh?
Yeah, the skating ability, and I actually, when I think it was a year ago, I talked to an old teammate I played with in Sweden, and he was really high on Broberg. I think it hasn't gone as to plan as much, but I try to do the comparables with Oscar Klefbom, and he was, when I talked to my buddy Nicholas Falk, he said, yeah, there was comparables there, and if he can turn into a Klefbom like defenseman, man, that's unbelievable. I just think he's too valuable to give up and watch what happens to him somewhere else and become a 1-2 defenseman at his age.
But Chychrun already is a 1-2 defenseman. And he already is like Klefbom, like, even from a contract standpoint, like, it's a cheap contract for what you get out of the defenseman. And that's where I'm just like, yeah, I get that Broberg could be really good, but we don't know for sure yet that he's going to be. So, here's a guy in Chychrun that's ready to go, ready now, when you need to win, and win today. I don't know. I would be willing to move Broberg. Well, I'd be willing to move anybody, really.
That's why my cool bet account's at 0, I guess, Kat.
Well, it has nothing to do with betting, Gager. Absolutely nothing to do with that. It's just personal thought. If I was a GM.
If you're watching on the live stream and you do want to chime in on this, hit us up in the comments section. And, of course, if you're listening on the podcast later on, feel free to tweet us at Assassination and Nielsen TSN 1260 and at Joaquin Gage 31. Right, Gager? Yeah, that's right. All right, let's get into the Pacific Division preview. I'm going to lay out my projected standings for the Pacific Division. We can tie that into your guys' wildcard team, and then we'll take a look at some individual players here as well. I'm starting with the Edmonton Oilers at the top. I think they win the division this year, followed closely by the Calgary Flames. The next pick, I'm torn on the next one. There's kind of a... After this, I think there's another tier of 3, and then I think there's a tier of 3 after. So I'm going to go Edmonton, Calgary, Los Angeles, Vegas, Vancouver, and then Anaheim, San Jose, Seattle. So 1 through 8, Edmonton, Calgary, Los Angeles, Vegas, Vancouver, Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle. That's how I kind of look at it right now. Is there a wild card team in there for you guys that we should spend some time talking about?
I have the Flames as a wild card team. The Flames are my wild card team.
Now, how much of a wild card? In what way? What do you think?
I have no idea how they're going to react to their coach. And I think
okay, so still a Sutter thing.
I absolutely think it is. Now I think they should be okay, but I just think, yeah, I'm really interested. And I guess so maybe not typically how we've talked about the wild cards. Like they'll still be a playoff team. I think they're still going to be good. They should be. But I'm just really interested to see how they respond to that. My flip side is I think LA, if I was going to say a different one, actually more like how we've been talking about wildcard teams, probably would be LA. In that I think they're getting much better and they're kind of revamping on the fly here. And I know there's some aging pieces, but they're starting to turn it over a little bit. They've made a couple additions. I think they're going to be better, or they could surprise some people. So, I think the Kings are my other wildcard team, but I'm just super interested to see how Calgary turns out this year.
Gager, what are you thinking?
Oh, I had the Kings. I just think after what they did last year with a little bit of a depleted lineup and taking a team that went to the conference finals to 7 games and being that young, that's a scary looking team. They still got 2 good goalies. Their D is quite solid, and they just their forwards. I mean, Kopitar is still a top player in the league. Like he's still unbelievable. And then with the Fiala addition, the Kings are scary. I look at those top 3 that you mentioned, Dusty. Yeah, I think, but I think the Kings are a lot closer to Calgary, Edmonton at the top than you think.
Okay, so would you say the Kings are closer to the top group than being down with the Knights and the Canucks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for
okay.
Sure. Yeah, they're better all around, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Most important player in the Pacific Division this year. Gager, let's start with you on this one, buddy. Who are you going with?
Well, I had 2, but you know what? I'll go with Johnny Huberdeau. I think.
Okay.
Just, huge trade, going to a market now that has more than 3,000 people watching the game on a regular basis, and maybe if there's a game where he doesn't produce, he's going to hear about it a lot more than I think he hears about it or did hear about it in South Florida. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. He's got to perform. He's replacing a guy that finished with, I think, 111 points last year for Gaudreau. I'm not complete, but I think it was around there.
Yeah, I think it was right there. Yeah,
just a massive year. So, and he's going to be counted on to go up against McDavid and Draisaitl and win some of those games. So I just look at him as having the microscope on him a lot this year, and just because he hasn't played in a hockey crazed market yet.
Cass, who are you going with?
This was most important player, right?
Yeah, most important.
Yep. 100%. Similar under the microscope. To me is going to be Mr. The Cat Man, Mr. Campbell, here in Edmonton.
Cass, you took imagine? A goalie. Jeez.
I took a goalie. I know, it was the most important player. How crazy is that?
This is Bizarro World. I thought you were taking Campbell for sure, Gager.
Yeah, I'm taking Campbell. Yeah, I just think, like if he struggles, can you imagine, like, what happens if in the regular season the first shot goes in? or like one of the first 2 shots.
That can't happen. I don't care if they've got to put 5 guys in front of the crease. That can't happen.
No, I know, but it just I mean, to me, that just reflects just the thought of us even thinking like, oh, that can't happen, or what if that does happen? To me, it's just I think he's going to be the most important piece. Like if he studies a position, I think that goes a long way to boosting the confidence of the Edmonton Oilers and makes a huge impact. Number 2, because I really was torn between these 2 guys, also an Edmonton Oiler is Darnell Nurse. And I know I'm kind of hedging with having 2 guys, but Darnell Nurse was the other one, because I think the combination of those 2 guys are going to be just a huge part of the defensive success of the Oilers. And if they're going to be the best players or the best team in the division, those 2 guys have to be great.
All right, let's get to the most underrated player in this division. Gager, back to you, buddy. Who do you think is the most underrated player?
I'm going to go with Elias Lindholm.
I thought you were saying Thatcher Demko for sure.
Yeah, he was. I think I scribbled him, but he got struck in there.
Lindholm's good answer.
Lindholm, I think, flies so far under the radar that to the point where I don't think he was recognized enough for the success of Tkachuk and Gaudreau last year. This guy, he's an elite centerman. He plays the game hard. He scores. I mean, he's money on Coolbet whenever he plays against the Oilers because he's going to score a goal. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I just think now playing with Huberdeau, it's going to be a little bit different for him. He's got a guy that plays a little bit more physical. I just think we're going to see him his ability to make the players around him better, I think, goes unnoticed a lot. I think you're going to see actually Johnny Gaudreau have a little bit more of a struggle not being able to have Elias Lindholm on his line this year. That's how good he is.
Cass, who's your most underrated guy in the Pacific?
Also taking a Calgary Flame.
Ooh, look at you, Flame lovers.
Wow. Michael Backlund.
Yeah, I was gonna. I was flip flopping there too.
Yeah, oh my God! Enough, Gager. Okay, enough. We know you love the Flames.
Lindholm played with really good players. Not that Backlund hasn't, but he makes anybody he plays with, their numbers go up proportionately, like very, very well. He can play with anyone. Plays up and down the lineup. Plays in both ends of the ice. There's a reason you saw him getting stuck on Connor McDavid all the time in playoffs. He's really, really good. Really good defensively. The reason I don't think he gets talked about as much is because of the two-way play, where it's not just all in the offensive zone for him. It's not like he puts up 20, 25 goals a year, but he stops 20 to 25 goals a year happening against you. No one ever really talks about him. He's not a spring chicken anymore, not a young man, but just a really, really good, really underrated player.
He's like an upgraded Pekka almost,
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would, and
he did better offensively, I would say.
He did good against Connor, which it was tough to see, but he actually did not a bad job, I thought. But Connor was just on another planet. But,
I was going to say, compared to other people, he did okay.
Yeah, compared to other people.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see the Flames come back with Kadri and that two combinations of trying to shut down Connor. That
would be interesting. You're rolling Kadri out there, and then you're rolling Backlund out there. That'd be certainly a possibility. Glad we get to see it 3 times in the regular season. That's awesome. All right, breakout candidates coming out of the Pacific this season. Gager, who are you going to go with as your breakout candidate?
Oh, that Sean Dursey from LA.
Dursey, you liked him, man.
Yeah. He there was an emergence there. Some of those games he was taken over, and with Doughty not in the lineup at all, he became the glimpses of a number one defenseman there. And now to have Doughty back and him, that's why I have the Kings a little bit more ahead than I think a lot of people do, just because this kid's special. He's just going into his second year, right? Yeah, so it was amazing to watch how he did in playoffs last year. We'll see, but I just think he's gonna have a huge year for the Kings this year.
All right, Cass, who's your breakout and why is it Jesse Puljujarvi?
I'm also taking an LA King.
Oh, okay.
Also taking a second-year player.
What?
However, I went to the forward group and went with Quinton Byfield.
Byfield, okay.
Yep. I think to me, here's a guy that is a large man. He's big. He skates well, has good hands, had a little bit of success last year, but really this was like the first foray for him, really, to be able to step into the NHL. To me, he's a guy that, especially players at that size, where it's just physically, they just take a little bit longer to develop. And you see that with players. To me, he's just primed for an explosive year in that we see his point totals go, because I think he had 10 points last year in 40 games.
He had 10 points in 40 games, but he's a giant, right? Like he's huge.
He's a giant center, can play physical, again, skates really well. To me, he's just one of those guys where it's like, if I was going to look at this division, I was going to look, who's going to figure this out and just going to be like, wow us as a player. I think he's a guy that we could see really come into his own and all of a sudden get significant minutes, have a little bit better defense behind him, and start to just excel as a player. I think the potential is there for him just to have a massive year. So maybe a little bit more risky because we haven't seen as much of him. But yeah, to me, he's a player that's just primed for a breakout.
Second overall pick in 2020, right behind Lafreniere. Timmy Stützle behind him has been better than both of them so far, but Byfield certainly has an absolute ton of potential. All right, there you go. We've previewed all four divisions. We're getting ready to go here for the regular season. We'll get to some season or league-wide season predictions on Thursday, and as we work our way next week towards the beginning of the regular season. Of course, if you're looking to wager a little bit, tons of futures bets, and we'll dive into a few of those actually as well. I'll bring some favorite futures bets from our partners over at CoolBet to the table here on Thursday's episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. I've got a hockey draft tonight. I'm looking forward to doing that in person at Boston Pizza. Gager, I'm sure you've got helmet cams to watch this afternoon from the Singapore Grand Prix.
It'll be on in the background. I do have some work to do, but
man, that sucks.
I'll probably throw on a Latifi for a real quick,
for a real good laugh. Cass, you're working? You're in the office today, so I'm assuming you're going to stay busy.
Yeah, I'm going to keep working.
Yeah, that sucks. Hey, I do want to mention this. I don't know if you guys are going to be involved in this. U of A Pandas taking on the McEwen Griffins, 2 o'clock at Claire Drake Arena, the Shoot Pass Support charity game, 5:30 on Saturday, October 8th. It's the Edmonton Oilers alumni versus the Edmonton Police Blues. Autograph signing, family fun activities happening after. $30 a ticket for both games, and then free for kids under 12. You can visit the website, shootpasssupport.com, for a little bit more on that. Gager, have you got the call for that one yet, or what?
No, I didn't get the call for that one. I don't know. I guess my performance up in Lloyd didn't to snuff. But
who starts if you're not? Like, who are the other two guys that would play net then? Scrivens and Delorier?
Yeah, I mean,
Delorier.
They might get him in there. Yeah.
I think they announced it. They announced it as they had so we had some lunch with the alumni on Friday, and they were talking about stuff, and it looks like Delorier he's getting the call.
Yeah, when they want to win, they throw him in. So it's good. Just to let you know too, I'm with K4 Financial, but we're doing a coat drive.
Cool.
October 5th at West Ridge Wolf Willow Community League, 505 Wolf Willow Road. I
think that's where my kids played sport ball.
Yeah, so we'll be there. Come by. Every kid can come grab a free pumpkin and stuff, but just to keep everyone warm.
What's the date on that again, Gager? When is it?
It's October 5th.
Oh,
2 to 6.
Sure, that's 2 days from now.
2 days from now. Yep.
Okay.
At West Ridge Wolf Willow Community League. So
all right.
hopefully,
I got coats that 4 kids could fit in. So we'll bring a few of mine over. Let's see how
those are
goes.
called sleeping bags.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Well, they keep me warm. All right, that's gonna do it for another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, part of the Nielsen Media CoolBet Network. We'll be back with another episode on Thursday. Boys, have a good couple days.
All right, bye.